Just a little plug, but if anybody can make it, I apologize for being late on getting out official notice about the fall festival tabling. But we could really use some assistance there. And I'm going to call out because we are recording and now it'll be on public record, but Chris and Ken and Dan, two of whom are not here. If any of you are available, it would be great to have some different representation out there on Saturday if possible. So
I'm going to talk to my wife and see if she'll let me.
Happy wife, happy life, I guess. Great.
Do you know what we've got at the table? Is it going to be basically the same materials we had before?
Yep. And Elisa is graciously going to be there to help set up and get all the materials ready. And she will be there sort of throughout the day, but I want to make sure that we are giving her a little bit of a break just because she is, just always out there doing it. She's killing it. Elisa is a model staff member.
Thanks, Molly.
And no, I definitely feel like it's true. And obviously it's sort of, it's not fair because I will be gone on Saturday for Dan's birthday. But otherwise I would be there. And I think it's going to be a great day with good weather to be out there. So, Dan, you missed it, but I put you on blast for hopefully being able to help table on Saturday. So if you've got some free hours, love to, even just a half an hour, would love to have some new representation out there for the committee. So.
Molly, do you think there would be any interest in having, I have 3 trifolds from other events that one is on energy, one is on water, and one is on composting, recycling with information pieces. Would you want me to bring those? The only thing that if we're outside, trifolds are kind of hard to set up and stay put.
Yeah, I think that those all sound like awesome materials. The only caveat that I would say is that I think we're really supposed to be showcasing, what we do as a committee and our accomplishments around the city as a committee and council. So I don't know if it's necessarily supposed to be like, here are some ideas for you, but more, how can you be involved in our own sustainability efforts? Like the Sustainability Champions map, the roadmap is going to be there, t-shirts and other swag for bikes. I think it's mostly sort of promotional for the committee.
Right, I understand. Okay.
I think that's a great offer though, and I appreciate you bringing it up because that will be useful. I think those could be very useful in future events, like if we ever do another energy showcase or something along those lines. So,
and some of them do relate to, I also have a huge map of the city with all the storm drains and other underwater things. But again, I don't know how we would set that up or post that.
I think that one might actually be cool because we do have the opportunity to talk about adopt a storm drain at the tabling. Right. So I think that one
could possibly, it has some of that on it too, not all together, but it's interesting.
Told you, Lisa.
What was
it? Bizarre to watch it on the screen.
I'm just going to get started. And then if Ken ends up being able to join, wonderful. But I just want to make sure that I'm being respectful of everyone's time. So I will call to order the Thursday, October 14th, 2021 gathering meeting of the City of Monona Sustainability Committee. It's 6:37. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from August 12th, 2021? I guess we can't.
Can we text Ken? Does anyone know how to text Ken?
I don't have his number, but
I can see if I can find his number. But yeah, in the meantime, we can't vote on the minutes.
Can we have a discussion about them or make any recommendations for edits, or that still also should be tabled for later?
I think that also needs to be tabled for later.
Okay. In that case, we will move on to appearances. And it looks like we have a guest.
Yeah. So
Penny, are you here to participate or just to what?
No, she's here to participate.
I'm actually here to participate in
the Ecoaction Tuesday. That's right. Thank you for the reminder.
Tuesdays.
Got it. All right. So no appearances. We'll include Penny later in our Ecoaction Tuesday programming section. Outreach efforts, we already brought up the fall festival. Again, if anybody can assist in that. I also circulated the email to past members of sustainability and other just sort of eco interested individuals in the community. So I'm hoping that we can get some signups. So far, we do not have any. But yeah, it would be great if we could get some extra hands on deck on Saturday. Other unfinished business, the energy roadmap. I don't know if anyone has any contributions to share or ideas about how we can start kind of getting that rolling. So I'll open up the floor.
Yeah, I know from my perspective, like I put together that little staff report, just trying to summarize sort of what we already have that might be helpful when creating it. But I guess I'm interested to hear what the committee thinks and like just understanding what you all see as sort of the path forward and like how we break up the work to make that happen. If there's other research or data that would be useful that like I can help put together, just kind of, I know Ken has a lot of experience with this, so it would be nice to have him here, but if anyone else has ideas about other information that we need, like that's something that would be helpful for me to know so that I can start working on pulling that together.
Right. And I agree. I would say I second that. You know, to me, the idea is still just a little bit nebulous about what we're specifically aiming for with this. And I know that we've talked about a variety of different ideas to pull in, you know, but, you know, I guess primarily what I'm interested in is how we can sort of center this around specific events or projects to make it more concrete instead of, you know, we tend to have lots of big ideas, great ideas, but simultaneously trying to attend to those things, I think we kind of get a little bit bogged down at times in accomplishing some of the goals that we hope to achieve. So I'll be interested also to hear from Nancy when she gets back, because I kind of think of this as something that was her vision that she outlaid and laid out. And I think, you know, having Ken's input too would be very useful. So we can move on to, why don't we skip the budget information tonight?
Could I just make one?
Yes, Sue.
Request possibly here. I know when you went through this historical, these changes in numbers, how much of what, when, and who, and how, and by what year, and where we are now, it was hard for me to separate what is renewable energy, what is, when you're talking about just what were the terms? I'm trying to remember here. I'm not sure you can
Clean
find
energy. We talk about clean energy, renewable energy.
Right. And just, I'd like to see a graph of where we started in terms of, you know, if there's any way to summarize that kind of shows the different things we're doing on the same picture over time to see whether we're increasing, decreasing, or where, you know, what progress have we made? It just wasn't very clear to me with all those numbers, and I kept getting caught in the verbiage as to what I really thought that looked like. And I don't know if that's something you can do or not.
Yeah, that's definitely something I can do. It's easy. Like I already have the data, just have to make a graph. I know just like off the top of my head, we're at about like the goal that's coming up most like soonest is the 25 by 25 goals.
Okay,
You know, 25% of municipal renewable energy. And right now, between the solar that's produced on our own solar panels and like the percentage of MG&E's power that comes from renewables, we're at about 20% of the city's like municipal electric needs being met by renewable energy.
okay.
So we've got a few years to come up with that next 5%, which, you know, some of that will come from MG&E continuing to make improvements, but
Right.
like this energy roadmap could be a great place to try and figure out exactly what kind of projects we would need to bridge that gap to fill in that last 5%.
Right. And I think that was the part too, when you talk about in the second group of numbers, 15% and 40% and 50%, you know, I didn't know if that was from the 2019 place or from the 2010 place, you know, I mean, I just like to see it all mapped together. so that it makes sense to,
Mhm.
it's easy for other people to see too. I think one of the problems with some of our materials that we display is it's pretty hard for the average customer to look at that and make sense of what it is. I mean, they just don't, I don't think it grabs people's attention the way it, or really communicates very clearly what is happening.
Sure. Yeah, that's something I can work on.
Thank you.
Also, I have to apologize for talking about it being nebulous because obviously, as you heard before, I looked at the wrong packet for tonight. And so now there's this beautiful memo that I'm seeing from Elisa. So thank you so much for laying that out. And I do think that that really gives us some concrete goals per this discussion as well. So thanks for your efforts on that, and my apologies for missing it. So, all right. Any other comments about this before we move on?
I would just say,
Yeah.
Do few things and do them well comes to mind. There's just so much stuff on here that it's kind of overwhelming. And I wonder if we should rank some things or try to focus on less, but do more with those.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. Maybe we can all take a look and think about, like, especially in the areas where we have the data, as Elisa mentioned, for example, like the slipstream report gives us some very clear objectives that potentially we could lay out for, a handful of facilities or a couple of facilities in the city. Things like that.
Which facility, and forgive me if this is already well known, but it's not to me, which facility uses the most electricity?
I believe it's the library, if I'm not mistaken. I know that the community center / senior center is also a pretty big drag.
But even with the library's solar cells, is that still true?
I would say again, yes, because I believe that we've had to do a number of sort of edits to things that were supposed to be improvements, like the lighting scheme and the inside. There was something about the way that we did that, where everything was very energy inefficient. That HVAC system has been a real beast of ours to deal with, and that we've kept having to attend to with different pathways that were never sealed off. So a lot of wasted energy that was going to nowhere in the building. And I believe also, in addition to the solar cells being sort of out of date and needing repair updates, there have been some roofing issues that have needed attention as well. All of this is to say, is I remember this specifically from the slipstream report, but I don't know if that was, and I think it was very clearly laid out by which building is using the most energy and through which conduits, whether it be like electricity or HVAC stuff. So
Yeah,
but
I know.
it's linked in the packet. So
Yeah, that slipstream report, you're right, Molly, that the library and especially the community center are definitely the buildings that are the least efficient in terms of energy use. I do think in terms of overall energy use, City Hall probably has the highest use of energy, like, City Hall and the library and Public Works garage, like we have several buildings with solar on them, and all of the solar that we produce on the City Hall panels gets used in the building, right? Like we don't sell any of it back to MG&E versus well number 3, the Public Works garage and the library all produce an excess of solar energy, or like we can't use all of the solar energy when we need it exactly. So we do sell solar energy back to MG&E off of those buildings. But yeah, in terms of energy efficiency projects, like the community center is a big one to focus on there, just because it's an old building and could use a lot of work.
And I would say, given our recent conversations regarding the capital budget as a council, we've talked about allotting money to do some studies about how to improve various structural and other facets of the community center in the interim before that facility is replaced or rebuilt. And And so it may be a great opportunity to kind of tune into that study and find areas where we as a committee could make recommendations about energy efficiency, or they've talked about, for example, relocating some plumbing to make a bathroom more efficient or, more accessible. And I think, when it comes to water or electricity or different materials used in the building, if we can kind of add our input here and there to that study, and eventually those improvements, that would be a great place to sort of collaborate with those departments. So. All right. Thanks everybody for your comments and input. I think, Chris, I really agree with your idea about sort of picking and choosing about where we may best lend our, our input and ideas.
Well, and it's really exciting that we're 20%. I mean, this 25 by 25 plan, we're close. And so if we can tackle the biggest offenders, I mean, 5% isn't that far out of reach, I would imagine.
I agree. Plus we have those plans for the LED lights that we keep talking about. That's going to do some good, right?
I hope they're going to be warm.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the Ecoaction Tuesday programming. Sue and Penny, take it away.
Hey, go Penny. Oops.
You're a little frozen, Penny. I don't know if there's a way you can maybe turn off your video to improve the connection or speed.
Okay, Sue, do you want me to start?
Yes, please.
Oh, sure, I can do that. Okay, all right, there we go. Okay, I'm not the greatest public speaker, so I have a little presentation, be very short and explain our program a little bit. Most of you know that the Monona Library has a sustainability program called Ecoaction Tuesdays. My name is Penny DePaula, and I have facilitated the program for the past 6 years. We meet on the 4th Tuesday of the month during the calendar year between March and September or October, who help plan and carry out the programming. We've covered a variety of sustainability topics. Many of the programs are hands-on, and we also do on-site programs. We covered second harvest.
Penny, we're still losing you a little bit.
bathhouses
Sorry, you're
and
kind of in and out.
Oh dear. Okay, I know. It says that my internet connection is unstable.
Oh,
So I don't know if it's gonna get any better. You want me to continue or should? I can also submit this in written form.
I mean, right now I can hear you okay. But I do think it would be great to have a copy of what you're saying, just so we can follow up on,
Okay.
Specific points.
Okay. I'll continue. Hopefully you'll be able to follow me here. The 2022 season of Ecoaction Tuesdays will focus on similar yet different things based on a webinar that I attended last month. I was introduced to the MIT En-ROADS Climate Simulator, a computer program that analyzes the effect contributors to greenhouse temperature. It simulates changes in temperature according to how those contributors increase or decrease their output of greenhouse gas.
whoops. Boy, Penny, we're losing a lot of it there. You might have to repeat that part.
Oh, okay. I think maybe,
Well,
Penny, I wonder if it would be worth trying to call in, if you know that, how to access that option. I'm gonna put some information in the chat for you about that. And then if you want to try calling in and join by phone, that may be a better way to just use your audio without draining your internet.
I
And then
got,
Sue, if you have any, if you want to kind of hop on, Sue, if you have any additional comments.
yeah, I'm sorry that Penny can't say what she's trying to at this point. I guess I added the 2 pages in that you have in the back of the packet here. So if you've had a chance to look at those things, those were kind of a bunch of different ideas that I had of ways we could reach out. But I think, one of the things we'd like to do is partly try to encourage people who attend these meetings to also either by, I know this year we've chosen a number of people, or Penny has selected for us a number of people that have actually are basically just community members, but have done large projects and have been committed for long periods of time doing things like advancing recycling issues or other things. And so to get people who are exemplars of, just what general people can do, or as part of the community that you can do, I think is a good thing. But also in some of these programs, trying to show both the urgency, but also the of what we're doing right now, and that why we need to make these changes as quickly as possible. Why so much? Why everyone being involved is important, and also, to express this in ways that are very supportive of people, that are engaging, that are positive, and allow people to not be overwhelmed by the task at hand. So I think that's kind of the focus, and trying to find a spectrum of things that people can probably connect to, because in terms of what Penny was trying to tell about that simulator, one of the points that is now being made is that it's not like there's one major focus like transportation, even though we know that certain parts of the economy contribute more overall. It's not like one thing will add a huge amount to the change. It's like some of each of these things are important. It doesn't matter which order we do them in. So I think that's helpful to individuals who might want to, might get sort of stuck or stymied by, well, I can't afford, solar panels, so I guess it's not worth it, to try. And so I think some of those things are what we would like to communicate in this program. And to the extent that, we as the sustainability, if I put my sustainability committee hat on, may have either things that we really especially would like to support or think are important, or want to, display that we're doing that can help other people manage, or connections we can make, or to other sources of funding. I know sometimes the Parks Department gets little projects going that actually raise funds for things, if we could, if Sustainability Committee wanted to do similar things with some kind of endpoint of generating, some kinds of funds to support people's efforts. I don't know. It's just trying to think how we might work, not that we should necessarily assign ourselves the tasks of doing what Ecoaction Tuesdays, that's not the idea, but it's to kind of follow or engage in a way that might be supportive of that, and that we can support, that Ecoaction Tuesday can be supportive of our efforts in terms of the community outreach piece. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think this is all super great, Sue. And I would also say, I really liked a lot of the ideas that you laid out, especially the concepts of relationship building in communities, and how I think it's very important in, you know, in Monona, especially such a relatively small community. I think if we collaborate with neighbors, we can be a lot more successful in implementing different, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
water saving, you know, adopt a storm drain, how to keep our gutters clean, how to keep our lakes clean, tips and tools that we can share with each other for, you know, insulating our houses with simple means so that we're not expending so much energy or losing energy. So I think that part, especially right now, is very timely. The idea of neighborhood and relationship building, community building. I also liked the note about, you know, the eye meter on the water, because we've had so much conversation at the council level about our switch to monthly billing versus quarterly billing for our water meters in town. And I think there's been just a lot of attention about that, which has brought a lot of attention to the app and how, you know, people can discover. Dan and I discovered a leak on one of our pipes because we noticed that, you know, the app was sort of fluctuating and we were noticing these changes. So I think that would be an awesome one too. Everything sounds great. I think these are some really good ideas that you and Penny have laid out. So,
and Molly, I don't know if you know, it was a little bit before when you were involved, I think, but we did have a water challenge competition, which 100 people actually signed up for, 100 households. That was maybe what, Penny, 4 or 5 years ago, I don't know. But anyway, that was something that we did do, and people did it for a year. Unfortunately, everybody found that their water usage went up, but it turned out that that was because that summer there was a drought. And over the period of time they did this. So it was interesting because people came back and they actually wanted to do it again. And the person who was running it, it was so hard to do at that time because we didn't have good ways of monitoring water usage. But we, you know, it was really a wonderful experience. And one of those things that, because it was successful, I would guess it might work again. At least there was enthusiasm to do it again. So at that time. So, I mean, I think there's some things like that. And especially now with these water meters, that's what I thought, wow, here we are, you know, opportunity. So
I love that idea, Sue. I think that would be a great way to involve a lot of people. And, you know, we as a city now with the newsletter and, you know, the Parks and Rec mailing list, all of sort of the individual points of contact that we as council members and city staff have, I think we could probably reach a lot of people with this idea. So Elisa, will you make a note to, I think we should flesh this out a little bit more at our next meeting. I'd love to sort of talk it through a little bit more in depth, but that seems like a really fun idea. And especially with this new app, I think would be a really easy way to collect data. So,
right. It would be a cool way to get people involved. It makes me think almost of like the sort of citizen science things that like the Arboretum and some other organizations do, right? Where you're involving people in collecting data and in the process, teaching them about whatever process it is you're trying to like improve.
absolutely.
But yeah, I can definitely look into,
Love
it
that.
was the previous water challenge something that like city staff helped organize, or was that someone external? Does anyone remember?
We had, I'm trying to remember, I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry, I'm getting to that age where all my names go. Who was the lawyer who, Penny, maybe you remember, who was on the sustainability committee, who was, oh my gosh, and it was his wife, Marina.
Larry Reed.
No.
Oh, wait. No, I know it. Peter Mckeever.
Peter Mckeever, yes. Yep. His second wife, Marina, was the one that ran that program. And I don't know how she did it. I mean, it was a big thing. She didn't want to do it twice, but that was because of all the other things, the externalities, and how difficult it was to get actual measurements. But you know, there were so many good things that happened with that. And it was so neat to see that many people involved, because it's very hard to get that kind of number group out there. But whatever we did, we could, we need to regroup with that kind of thing, I think, because I think there are some other possibilities along those lines, but that's where we want to go, I think, is get enthusiasm, excitement up, and, you know, and make it fun. You know, it's a game, you know, it's a challenge. It's like, who can do this?
I think this is awesome. And Elisa, I have Peter's contact information if you need it. So we could, you know, start there and just see if they have any recommendations about how they rolled out the process last time, and we can see what it entails. Thanks, Sue. Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other comments about Ecoaction Tuesdays from the committee? All right. So what we're gonna get there, but I think, Elisa, do you think that we'll have to have an emergency meeting of any kind to discuss budgetary items in order to meet deadlines, or?
I'd have to double check with Brad. I don't remember off the top of my head when we need to submit, but I do think it's before submit like our budget. But I do think it's before, certainly before the next meeting, although we may, I think we were in the same situation last year where we didn't have quorum when we needed to vote on the budget, and Brad was able to submit it anyway. So I'll have to double check with him. And if we do need an official committee vote, then we can hopefully find a time that people can.
Yeah, great.
A meeting like this.
And I would say, Elisa is always so thoughtful, I think, about sending out information well in advance. So please RSVP to the meetings so that we, have a good idea. And obviously life happens, things will come up, but that way we'll have a better idea of whether or not we'll have quorum, but also just be prepared for the idea that we may have to have a meeting between now and our next scheduled meeting to make sure that we're following protocol for budgetary approval and reviewing all the items in depth so we know what we're presenting to the council.
Okay.
All right, next is the solar permitting.
Yeah, so this was the Department of Energy thing that that Ken had sent to you and Nancy, Molly. Anyway, it seems like a really cool program. So the Department of Energy has launched this like online system to make the permitting process for getting rooftop solar on like a residential home easier. I looked into it. It is pretty cool. It like can integrate with, existing permitting software or like online systems that municipalities have. But despite how cool I think it is, I'm not sure that it's something, I think it's something for us to like keep in mind for maybe the future if we do end up having a large volume of permits or like requests for solar stuff. So right now, Monona does not have a separate permit for solar, like you just need the building and electrical permits. And I was talking to Doug and our building inspector, Doug, who's our city planner, and then the building inspector as well, just about like sort of the process for it. And right now, like I know in some bigger cities, permits can take a really long time to get approved, but right now, solar, like the turnaround time for our permits is not terrible. And I went through our permit logs for the year so far. We've had about 10 solar permits come in for residential homes. So that's great. I'm happy to see so many, but I'm not sure we're like at a big enough scale to make implementing this like software sort of feasible or necessary, but it's cool. And like, I'm excited that there's a resource like that for municipalities.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we forwarded that to the rest of the committee, shared it all. I don't know, maybe Nancy forwarded along, but.
I will do that right now because I don't think we did.
And I think we could put that, carry this item over as well to our next meeting, because I think it'd be great to have Ken speak directly on it and just get, more input from the rest of the committee. But you did a great job summarizing, Elisa, and I do think it sounds cool. So.
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, so the next item is our recurring DEI discussion items, projects, programs, policies, or budget considerations for council advisement. Does anyone have anything to bring to the table this evening? All right. I'm
Was
trying
that
to think.
discussed before or not? Has this been discussed as an item before or not particularly?
Yes, it's sort of a running item on most of the city meeting agendas, just as a reminder for us to be aligning ourselves with the greater goals of the city to be more inclusive and welcoming community. It's also something that arose from our partnership with Nehemiah that we embarked upon last fall. So it's just sort of a reminder for us to be thinking about how we as a committee can use our, resources and privilege and power as committee members to think about ideas that we can enact in the community that are relating, to our city department and our committee that might be useful tools for DE&I. So for example, in the past, we had talked about the mound management, Sue, and that was sort of an item that we talked about, when it comes to events we hold or like water challenge. I mean, I think there probably are ways that we can try to be more thoughtful in how we communicate and the reach of our communication so that we can involve a greater number of citizens who aren't necessarily often looped into city communications, to see if we can kind of make those connections, for example. So just little ideas that you might have about how we can use our power for good in making our community more equitable and welcoming.
And
And if you don't have any items, that's fine, but it's just sort of there as a reminder for us to be thinking about it and to, have it on the back burner to be keeping things in mind for this agenda item as each meeting comes and goes. So. I just wanted to let you know, I got a text from Sarah Smith, whose meeting got done early, so she might log on, in which case we would be able to take a look at budgetary and other items and do some voting tonight, approval tonight.
That'd be great.
I think we can probably just skip minute approval until next meeting, just carry that over and just really focus in on the budget, if that's all right with you, Lisa.
Yeah, that's fine. I think getting a vote on the budget would be the most sort of highest priority.
Yes, great. Okay. Does anyone have, so the next item is just important updates from committee members or items to consider for future agendas. So before we go back to budget discussion, does anyone have any ideas for that?
I have one idea which involves probably almost certainly the planning commission and the city planner, but the city of Fitchburg is the first municipality in the state of Wisconsin to adopt something called Smart Code, which among other things allows for much smaller lots upon which to build houses. And one of the ways we could increase, density is allowing single family homes to be built on smaller lots, like taking one lot and dividing it into two, for example. That can't be done right now because there are minimum lot sizes that are, they're big. And city of Fitchburg hired a consulting firm to develop this smart code. And there are many municipalities across the country that have done similar building codes, smart code adoptions. And I just think it's something maybe in partnership we could work on with the planning commission and the city planner to look into doing something like that.
I know that it's something that's come up before in relation to plan commission. And definitely it's something that Doug, our city planner, and I have talked about, and definitely want to look into, because like our minimum lot size for single family homes is like 10,000 square feet, which is pretty big. Most other places will have it somewhere between closer to like 8,000. And it does present an issue for density, or like, I don't know, it also puts some homeowners, like if they live on a smaller lot and want to build more, maybe they want to add an addition to add an extra bedroom to their house to be able to stay, to stay in Monona as their family is growing. They still have to meet all the same setback requirements, so they have a very small amount of space to build on. So
Right.
there are lots of reasons to look into it, and I'm glad you brought it up, Chris. I think if we can, I think like that's something that we're interested in looking at, and it would be great to have if as that comes before Plan Commission at some point in the future, to have like the sustainability committee be able to, speak in favor of whatever changes or help try and inform what kind of revisions we might make to the code, like that would be helpful. So.
Yeah, I'd be interested. I'm really discouraged that developers are, for the most part, just building fancy apartments and, very few developers or home builders would be interested in buying a tear down house in Monona and then just building another house. I mean, rich people do it, but what I'm talking about is like if a developer could buy 3 houses in a row that aren't really very nice and tear them down and then build 6 small workforce houses, that would be amazing. Monona's, we can't grow our land, but we can increase its density.
I think this is awesome. I'll second Elisa's comments and just thanking you for bringing it up and just all the reasons that she provided for why it's such an important topic of discussion. And I'll just also say that for me personally, and I know for Nancy, the idea of, more communal spaces, smaller homes on a single lot where people could do more cooperative living is a big, personal passion for both of us. And to hear the discussion from this point and the idea that, we have this model now with Fitchburg and, that it's been discussed before, with Doug and, Elisa has, obviously a lot of knowledge about it from previous discussions. I think it would be a great topic to kind of latch onto and focus on in future meetings. Great idea.
One other little supportive point in that direction is that we did have an Ecoaction Tuesday thing on small houses or, on other, properties. So having grandma move in or,
Yeah.
and that was a very popular and well-attended meeting. So I think there's a lot of interest in the community from various perspectives that might be, potentially worth investigating. So.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think what Sue is mentioning is so like the idea of like having another unit on your property is like accessory dwelling units, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
a granny flat or like an in-law apartment. Sometimes people call it, which is again another thing that has come up in discussions within the planning department and plan commission. So I love that both of the committees that I work on are like thinking about similar things, because from a personal standpoint, like I find that stuff very interesting and would love to spend more time doing research on it and, be able to move that through some of our committees.
Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure it falls under like the DEI umbrella, but I think oftentimes when more quote unquote affordable housing projects come to the table at Plan Commission, we get a lot of pushback from residents in this community who fear that they will, sort of take something away from the community that's established or cause an increase in crime or, there's just a lot of sort of dog whistly type of responses that we get to different building projects that, that have the implication that will be a more diverse socioeconomic range of people. And it won't be these, huge yards and beautiful, picket fenced homes. And so I think one thing that we can think about, and Sue said the Ecoaction Tuesday, but through our committee, if we can inform people and sort of get people more enthusiastic about this in the community, I think I would hope that we could have less pushback from the community when projects such as these arise and are put before Plan Commission, because I think often it's hard to change minds about what the concept is, what it means, what it can look like. And I think that that's a real opportunity for us as a committee.
Mhm.
So, all right. Now that Sarah Smith is here, welcome. Thank you for double meeting dutying it tonight. Let's go ahead and go back to the operating budget discussion. This starts on page, I got it, page 8 of 11.
Yeah, and I can share it on the screen if that's helpful.
Great. Yeah, awesome.
All right, so we saw this at our August meeting as well, but I can go over the basics of it again. Basically, we've reduced a couple of things like professional development and this community campaigns and public education funds, and sort of looped that all into the outreach and marketing fund. So we've got $500 there, which would go to help with the Bike Monona t-shirts that we have, other marketing things like printing the sustainability dashboard that we do each year, and any other sort of marketing related stuff that we would want to do. And then the other piece of the budget is $500 for the Earth Day e-cycling event that we'll plan on doing again. Our contract with Resource Solutions for last year's event was only $250, but we kept the budget item at $500 in case we want to expand the event at all and potentially contract with another place.
Shouldn't we be getting paid for that? They should be paying us. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think they put in their staff time and whatnot, and they do get, I don't remember, I think they gave us a full report of what, they certainly gave us a report of like how many tons of recycling we collected, but.
Did they tell you how many tons of money they made? That seems like, they're laughing all the way to the bank. Half of us volunteered to be there, and I saw all kinds of cool stuff donated that I wish I could have kept. I just can't believe we had to pay them. Anyways, sorry. Thanks.
Yeah, so those are the two things. And then, in years past, professional development for both my position and Brad's position has been part of the sustainability committee budget, but we're going to move that over to the administrative budget, which is why that's no longer part of this budget. And then there are some proposed changes to my position in terms of hours per week and pay. But again, all of that's here just so you can see what those changes are, but that will be moved all to the administrative budget, not the sustainability committee's budget. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments, things that they would want to change to this budget before we take a vote.
I think I would love to entertain a motion to approve this. And I also just want to say again, I am a Lisa Stan. I talk about her all the time. She's just an incredible human and deserves, every bit of this change in her position that we are describing here. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity, while I'm on the council to try to make this happen with your support as a committee. So I'll entertain a motion. Elisa, you are numero uno, and let's do this thing, folks.
I agree.
I will second.
Who motioned first?
I move to approve.
I thought you
Sorry.
were.
And then I still just went on my impassioned rampage.
I
won't
see.
back down. Not apologizing. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. I skipped discussion because I know we've talked about it before, and I think unless there are any questions, we're good to just move forward. Okay?
Yep.
All right. That being said, now that this is approved, great. Thank you again, Sarah, so much for joining us tonight to help with this. Sarah, do you have any either DEI items or an important updates to share before we adjourn tonight? Any news from your county supervisor duties that is relevant?
I I don't believe so, other than that we are working on our own budget as well. And we are going to have our full, we've had a number of hearings already on the budget, but we have another public hearing on just anything within the budget that's a little bit less specific on issue, which is on Wednesday, the 20th. So just put that out there. If there's anything that anyone may want to testify to the county board about in our budget, that's on Wednesday. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for your time tonight. And I think we've got some good points of discussion for the next meeting, which will be on, hold on, does it already say?
November.
Thursday, the 11th, November 11th. Little factoid for you, it's Leonardo DiCaprio's birthday. So we can have a toast to Leonardo DiCaprio on 11/11. Good for us. Great job.
He's like climbing.
Motion to adjourn, anyone?
Also Veterans Day.
I mean, minor point. The things
I'll
that
move
stick
to
with you from
adjourn.
your adolescence, you know? Okay, wait, Dan motioned to adjourn. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great night and a wonderful weekend.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.